It's the holiday season, the holidays. You guys are supposed to join me on that.
Oh, I didn't.
I thought maybe you'd like chime in.
It was a surprise.
Yeah, I thought maybe we'd do that in rounds. Welcome, everybody, to the Vortex Nation podcast. It is the holiday season, and it is time for our annual cartridge talks.
Yay.
This is the first one of the bunch.
Oh, yeah. Little mini marathon for you guys.
Hopefully everybody didn't already shut it off with that little ballad.
That's gonna
ditty that we.
I think it only drew in more people.
Who's that young lady that sings the Christmas songs?
Mariah Carey.
Bingo. That one's going.
That's who you were thinking of.
Yep, that's going into Hall of Fame.
You think she's got some stiff competition now?
Finally.
I wouldn't even say competition anymore. I think she can just retire.
It's about time.
It's over.
Our first cartridge. I'm so pumped, guys. It's like I'm so pumped that I don't even want to start because I'm so excited. But we got to start.
Yeah,
we got to start sometime. First up on the docket, Ryan, a cartridge you and I have been pretty stoked on, talked about for a while. I got a chance to use it for the first time here, actually very recently. The Weatherby 6.5 RPM. It's just the name's got a good ring to it.
I do like it. Bit of a car reference.
Yep, a little bit there.
What does RPM stand for something?
It stands for rebated precision magnum. Now, Ryan, let's talk about just the name and those words and maybe how that's kind of / is a departure from, you might say, your traditional Weatherby cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can already tell just looking at the thing. I thought this isn't a Weatherby cartridge. It's not rounded.
What Jim is talking about is the characteristic double radius shoulder that we saw on so many Weatherby cartridges from the 300.
That thing don't got a Hemi.
It doesn't, but it's got more RPMs.
How about that?
I know it. So this is a cool case, and it is a huge departure from the very typical Weatherby modus operandi, which is generally a full-length 300 H&H case, blown out, radiused, belted, or in the case of the 7 Weatherby, the 270 Weatherby, like a 300 Win Mag case, blown out, rounded, belted, or the 240 Weatherby, which is actually a belted 30-06 with a radius shoulder. 30, 378, 338, 378, 378, and 416 and 460 are their own critter. But they have that radius shoulder, big belt. This has none of those things.
Right.
Yep, it's got a modern shoulder, no belt, and then a rebated rim, and that's where rebated in its namesake comes from.
Can you point out some of these things, Ryan, as you talk through them?
Sure. So some case anatomy, if you've never taken the time to look at this, at the case head, we have our rim, our case rim, that our extractor is going to interface with. And when we use the word rebated, we would be referring to the diameter of the case rim relative to the case head. So it is inset, the case head. So it is rebated. So what you end up with here is a case body that is larger in diameter than you would typically associate with a cartridge case head of that diameter.
That just seems like some sort of... It doesn't seem like it could possibly be that significant, but they literally put it in the name. So why?
Well, let's go back in time a little bit to a really cool cartridge that was introduced in kind of a dumb gun. Now, I say that I have a lot of love and endearment in my heart for the original chambering 284 Winchester, which you could call one of the first modern short magnums.
Okay.
It wasn't really a magnum, but it was a really cool Buck Rogers space-aged case design for its time. And it was introduced in the Model 100, which was a semi-automatic rifle from Winchester. That was a kind of a weird gun to have a case like that, a cartridge like that. And I'm not going to say that it spelled disaster entirely for the case. I think maybe convention spelled disaster for the case. But a modern firearm, a modern case, a weird pairing. 284 Winchester. The idea is we're going to have a 30-06 case volume in a smaller case and a 7mm bullet. And so we're going to pretty much duplicate or emulate 280 Remington ballistics in a smaller package. And they did it. And one of the things they did is they started with this chubby case and they turned the rim down so they didn't have to modify a bolt face. So a 308, a 30-06, 243, 22, 250, all these cartridges had that same bolt head. And so they kept that on the 284. Well, the 284, kind of a weird pairing, like I said in the original chambering, became a fan favorite for long-range target shooters. And they were shooting either straight 284 or they were necking it down to a cartridge now known as 6.5 284 Norma.
Right.
Which is a super cool cartridge, a esteemed long-range round. Great hunting round, actually, if you have one. In fact, our very own Travis Jones has a 6.5 284 that he's enamored with. I think he killed a deer with it last week.
I think Jimmy Jordan has one too, or at least he had one.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's a pretty Jimmy cartridge.
Cartridges with a lot of numbers.
I don't want to sidetrack too much here, but I feel like, yes, that's a great cartridge, but I feel like it was one that I was like, saw this, and then don't see it much anymore.
It was hot in the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
They kind of fell out of favor for no good reason. It's a good cartridge. Weatherby took it, and they lengthened the case. So this is a 284 case that's been stretched and then neck down to 6.5.
Jim, you know what that means?
Yeah, if it's neck down, it's better.
No, I was going to say more power, baby.
Oh,
With the
there we go.
lengthened case there.
Shout out, James Pump.
So I don't ever get to feel that cool all the time, but Mark and I got to hear about this cartridge before it was a thing. We got to hold it. And it was kind of this backdoor deal at a trade show. It's like, hey, come check this out. It's like, open his hands, flash his hands. Saw that fancy shoulder. I was like, wait a minute.
I bought a watch from that guy too.
Did you really? I bought a timeshare.
One of those ticking Rolexes.
So we got to see it ahead of time, and everybody. I sat with bated breath for like 2 years, wanting to know what.
It took a
long time.
Yeah.
It was a really hard shake of the dice because at that time, then all the wheels just fell off of modern society as we know it. And then ammunition became extremely scarce. Components became extremely scarce. And kudos to the folks at Weatherby for getting this thing up and running and moving. I was in a small gun shop in South Dakota the other day. I found 6.5 Weatherby RPM brass.
Whoa.
Oh, interesting.
I'm happy about that. But anyway, so it's a lengthened 284 case, neck down to 6.5 millimeters. And they also have a 338 version of it as well. But this is the 6.5 RPM. And it is a kind of a monster of a cartridge. So Mark had handed me off a Weatherby Backcountry 2.0, a Mark V that he had picked up, chambered in 6.5 284, or not 6.5 284, 6.5 Weatherby RPM. And I got to play with it. I got to go to the range, chronograph it. It's no joke. It's very fast. It's quite powerful. It offers a distinct advantage over my 6.5 Creedmoor in an identical weighted rifle, albeit at the penalty of more recoil. Certainly a larger case.
Yeah, and that rifle, I mean, that's coming in at 5.5 pounds,
It's
I
light.
think.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think 5.2, 5.4. Close enough, 5.5.
Close enough.
We're going with you.
Anyway, it's a light rifle, which I love.
Yep.
Right? I mean, it's easy to carry. You kind of feel like you're, just toting around a matchstick. But little poppy.
Yep.
Comes with a brake, so
Yep.
we did put the brake on it.
I'm glad that you allowed me to do that.
Because I'm not a big brake guy.
What was the chronograph telling you? Like, what were you pushing
Well,
it at?
let me just pull that data out here, James.
Please
have
do.
it on my
Please
cellular
do.
telephone.
So
You've had the same iPhone, Ryan, I think, for the last 6.5 years.
Yep. So my 5-shot average over the magneto speed was a 127 grain Barnes LRX, which is a bullet that is very near and dear to my heart. 3,189 feet per second. Yes. Yep. So for contrast, out of my 6.5 Creedmoor, I pushed that 127 Barnes about 28.
And how about people who've got the 6.5 PRC? Because that's also kind of one of those snoozed up 6.5s that is pretty popular.
This is offering another
step up, right? Because it's
yeah.
kind of between the Creedmoor and the RPM in some ways. In terms of,
it's above the PRC is between the Creedmoor and the RPM.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little different, like case design approach.
Right.
With the RPM or the PRC, excuse me. RPM is in typical Weatherby fashion, the no holds barred option. What I think is remarkably special about this cartridge is they were able to exploit every last millimeter they had in the 6-lug Mark V action, which I adore. It's a very trim action. It's small diameter, minimal dimensions, extremely lightweight, and a robust action. And they only have one action length, so short or long, it's the same thing. And they can stuff that case in there without issue. And so now we pair true Magnum performance, in my opinion, with this trim rifle that is not gargantuan in proportion. And so you end up with a very portable package and an astounding cartridge.
Can I just say what's kind of, I guess, been, I mean, I don't necessarily think this, so it's certainly not me. But it's a Magnum, and it's 6.5, right? Can we address that real quick? Because there's certain camps of people who are like, 6.5, you might as well, you might as well toss a little pebble at it or something like that. The 6.5, I don't know what it is, but it became synonymous with not enough juice, and now you're putting it in what's called a Magnum.
Yeah.
And some people, I think, they view it's like it's got to be 7 and up if it's going to be a Magnum.
It's an interesting way of thinking about things, because I guess we would have to define what is Magnum. And now I think it's kind of a moniker that's hung on things that just is a thing.
It's that look that you've been working on for...
That's blue steel.
Many.
Yeah, I haven't gotten Magnum down yet. I can't turn left or right, one of the two. So it's...
You ever been in a gas fight?
If I'm unpacking what Magnum means, I would say I would probably be looking at like a velocity threshold obtained with a given bullet weight greater than that of standard-ish cartridges. So if I compare this to a 6.5-06, it's pretty darn close to the 6.506 AI, but let's go with the 6.5 Creedmoor or 6.5 PRC, because or 260 Remington as well. It has a notable advantage over especially the Creedmoor and the 260. So we could say safely it has Magnum performance in comparison.
So what you're saying, it's all relative. Whatever.
Yeah.
Magnum is a relative term.
Yeah, it is. And I'm also not necessarily a subscriber to bullet diameter meaning anything.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of bullet construction meaning something. That I have spoken about ad nauseum. But when I was playing with this cartridge and I was on the bench and I was shooting it, and the groups that I was getting with it, and the velocity consistency that I was getting it, and the velocity numbers that I was getting with it, I looked at that, being intimately familiar with a projectile from like a terminal standpoint. I don't know if there's anything I wouldn't hunt with it. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't hunt elk, but if you gave me this and you're like, go hunt elk, I'd be like, okay, I think I'm cool with that.
For sure.
Yeah.
So like, okay, let me ask this question, and it's one of those ones where I feel like I know the answer, but I also don't even know how to necessarily articulate it, right? The muzzle velocity in and of itself alone.
Yeah.
I mean, case design and all that stuff, everything we're doing with the case and how we do it is to basically push that bullet at a higher rate of speed, right? Compared to like your 6.5 Creedmoor or something, right?
And a little bit more than that to also exploit the action. And
right.
Without getting ridiculous. Like
Ryan said, I mean, this thing uses that entire
load port
available space.
Well, right. And they're trying to use as much space as possible so they can get as much capacity and like basically push the bullet faster.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so pushing the bullet faster equals where with my 6.5 Creedmoor, maybe I would be a little bit hesitant to go hunt insert game here.
Yeah.
Now, same bullet, but because I'm pushing it so significantly faster, now I feel more confident. And that's just because I'm transmitting more energy into said game.
Yep.
Right? Same bullet, but more energy.
Yep. So when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking about, okay, trajectory benefit compared to my 6.5. So it's flatter shooting. Okay. It bucks wind better. Energy, I'm not crazy on energy because it's important, but it's not like the sole thing. I'm looking at that bullet in particular, the 127 LRX, and having killed things with the 127 LRX and the 120 TTSX and the 6.5s. And I'm looking at how that bullet works and where that bullet works optimally. It's within a band of velocity, more or less like there's a minimum, like a threshold that has to be met in order for that bullet to be effective and work.
Yeah.
And I'm moving that bar from a distance standpoint. And then I think with that, like a game weight standpoint, if I have to break through a large cervid at a goofy angle, I'm going to be picking a Barnes bullet in the first place. And then having the ability to have a factory loaded option like this with this velocity in that kind of rifle with those flight characteristics, that's a sweet round.
Got it.
That almost checks the box of everything I've ever wanted in a cartridge. It's close.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean, like you said, Ryan,
I just got a little.
You're maximizing the bullet selection as well. These 6.5 bullets, you know, they're long. They have high BCs. You know, they're obviously used in a lot of, you know, long range cartridges. And now it's like you're taking all those positive attributes of that bullet, pushing it faster, and just kind of, you know, a little bit more of everything. You know, you're talking, and that's a great bullet, Ryan. And you look at some of the other, you know, I think it's loaded into Swift Scirocco.
Yep.
You know, an AccuBuy, like bullets that are
Tough.
You know, tough but high BC.
Yep.
Just a lot of good stuff going on there.
Yes. My hunting partner built up a 6506 Ackley a few years ago, and it is a monster of a cartridge, but it's custom. And so you can't go buy brass. You can't go buy a rifle in it. There's not really load data out there that's sound because there's some ambiguity around the definition of an Ackley. And everybody's out there in their basement putting powder in things they shouldn't be putting powder in at quantities they shouldn't be doing. This is as close to that cartridge as you can get, I think, from a factory standpoint, and it's just available, and it's done, and it's intelligent. There's nothing about the case that I find silly or novel.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
High praise, Ryan.
It's neat.
It's pretty looking.
It's a good looking round.
That, I mean, you can just tell looking at it, just that it's, you know, petite on the back end there. But like you said, very intelligently designed.
Nice petite back end. Mark likes that in the cartridge.
And it shoots deer.
It can shoot deer.
Shot a deer with it the other week. Not exceptionally far. Didn't get to, I guess, you know, maximize the potential of the cartridge, but I can tell you at 270 yards, which in person was like, well, a lot of cartridges would
That's
good
a
job
long,
at
yeah,
270.
It's a long ways though.
But did the job. Punched through it was slightly quartering too, punched through the front shoulder, you know, out the ribs. Deer ran a little bit, died.
Weatherby has generally made cartridges for like hunting purposes.
Yep.
Right? So like this is
completely.
This is pretty much a hunting round. You know what I mean? But I'm also everyone's gonna have to, you know, wonder, well, what if I get this and I want to shoot, you know, long range with it? Right. I imagine it's probably gonna be a little expensive after a while, you know, if you're really shooting a lot. And I mean, is it going to be a barrel brand? Like, I'm curious about some of these things. For like, it doesn't seem the route you'd go if you're like, yeah, I'm gonna send a bunch of rounds down range at long range, you know, in a chassis gun or something.
I still think that's what the Creedmoor is for. Like
yeah,
the Creedmoor was.
It's been proven to do that.
America's introduction into the hybrid rifle, or hybrid rifle cartridge.
Yeah, that
cartridge revolutionized the American shooting landscape, probably the global shooting landscape as we know it, and it does a damn good job at that. Its shortcomings, if there are any, if anybody wants to debate that, I guess, would be how fast can it move a bullet like this?
Sure.
There are better mousetraps for that if you're looking for a hunting option. I think this is a very endearing cartridge. I hope it sneaks out of the Weatherby line into other rifles as well, because it should. It's that good.
I think that's what it's going to...
Gosh, I hope so.
That's what it's going to take.
I hope so.
I like it.
And I'm a big Weatherby cartridge fan. So,
big fan.
Big guy. Big fan.
Big guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that box posted velocity for this bullet is 32.25. Yep. So out of that rifle was not too far off.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. And it was very consistent. Brand new barrel, 5-shot average. I think we had a 16 SD, and I mean a brand new barrel. I pulled the trigger the first times. I shot 3-round groups, and I think the biggest was probably shade under 3/4 minute. So it was a fine cartridge.
Cool. Well, there you have it, everybody. The 6.5 Weatherby RPM. High praise from Mr. Ryan Muckenhern.
We did it under 10 minutes.
Guru. Yeah, under 20 is basically under 10.
Times 2.
20 is the new 10. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And we'll catch you on the next one, which there's going to be a next one because it's the holidays. And it's our holiday cartridge talk season.
Happy Christmas.
Merry Chrysler.
All you Brits.
Magnum.